Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. I just got home from church, and today is my 4-year anniversary of being a flight attendant, and I'm going to talk about it. What I've learned, what might be helpful if you want to be a flight attendant, and how I feel about it today, basically. I'm also gonna be cooking. If you watched my last video, I made chicken, cheese, and rice. I did a meal prep video, my last video, and I made chicken, cheese, and rice, and y'all, it was so good. I'm about to make it again, so I'm just gonna cook while I talk about this. I did not write any notes down, so this is going to be just all random and off the top of my head. And y'all know I got ADHD, so keep up with me. So, like I said, today makes 4 years since I became a flight attendant. Where should I start? Let's start at the beginning. Let's start with training. So, when I went to training, I literally told nobody I was going to training, because training, people don't make it through training. That's all I'm gonna say. People don't make it through training. I don't think it really has much to do with like how you study or your study habits, or if you've been out of school for a while. Like, I honestly don't think that has a lot to do with it. It might for some people, but I don't think that's like the end all be all. Like, don't feel like, oh, I've been out of school for so long, I'm not gonna. Don't think that way. When I say I literally told nobody I was going to training, like when I say I told nobody, I literally told nobody. I told my mom the day I was going to training, like flying out to training, because I asked her to take me to the airport. And she was like, yeah, I'll take you to the airport. And so I drove to her house. At the time where I was staying before I moved here, I stayed about an hour from her house. So I drove to her house that night. She was at work, so I didn't see her until like the next morning or whatever. And she was like, where are you going? And I was like, oh, I'm going to flight attendant training. And she was like, what? Like, it was like complete shock. So I literally, like I said, I literally told no one. Nobody knew. Even when I got back out of training, like, it wasn't until months later when I moved away that people were like, you know, where you been? I haven't seen you, blah, blah, blah. Or I've seen on your socials, you know, you're doing a lot of traveling, blah, blah, blah. Not knowing that I was traveling because I was a flight attendant. So, again, nobody knew. And that's just the mindset that I went into it with, because I've seen a lot of flight attendants and even videos here on YouTube that, like, and there's nothing wrong with announcing that you're going to flight attendant training, but I've just seen flight attendants prior to me going to training being like, you know, I'm going to flight attendant training, here's what I'm packing, blah, blah, blah. And that's amazing. Love that. And they were kind of going through their journey, like, in real time. And they would get sent home from training. And then, like, the videos would just stop. And I'm just like, damn. Like, that really sucks. So, like, I didn't want to do that or tell anybody, because, you know, what if I got sent home? And you know how people are. Well, what happened to such and such? And what happened to you doing this? And I thought you were da-da-da-da-da. I didn't want nobody in my business, so I just didn't tell nobody. But training, it's not hard. Training is just what it sounds like. They're going to train you to be what they need you to be. Like, that it's just that simple. Like, training is what you make it. The advice I would say as far as training is go to training, learn what you need to know, and leave. Like, don't. You're gonna meet people, of course. You're probably gonna bond with people, but don't go to training and don't have it in your mindset that like everybody is your friend, because they're not. Everybody is not your friend. I didn't have any situations, but there were plenty of so-called cliques and friend groups that I literally saw crumble right in front of my eyes. And those friend groups got people sent home and kicked out of training for not following rules and whatever. But go in, learn what they're there to teach you, and get your wings and go home. That's all I'm gonna say about training. Training for me was not hard. They train you to know what they need you to know, and it's literally that simple. They give you everything you need. They give you study guides. They give you links to flashcards. They give you open book. Like, they give you everything you need. It's not to trick you, and it's not like school where you kind of gotta, you either know it or you don't. But we're gonna tell you what we need you to know, and just know what we need you to know, and that's it. Like, that's all it is to it for training. So yeah, being a flight attendant is not for the weak. Being a flight attendant is not for everyone. And just because you think you have customer service experience, it's no. People think that all flight attendants do is, oh, we do service, blah, blah, blah. We are trained to save lives. At the end of the day, that is what we're trained to do. People, especially passengers, they completely think that we're just waitresses in disguise, because that's what y'all see us do. And honestly, that's what we want y'all to see us do, because if we have to do anything else, it's scary, because you're 30,000 feet or higher in the air saving people's lives. So honestly, it's not a bad perception to have of flight attendants, but that is not what flight attendants do. We are there for your safety, and that is what training is. They don't teach you customer service in training. They don't. They will not teach you customer service in training. I'm going to tell you that now. They're not going to teach you customer service. So don't go into it thinking like, oh, it's all about customer service. It's not. Yes, you want to be customer service knowledgeable, but that is not our job. Our job is safety. End of the day, our job is safety. At the beginning of the day, our job is safety. All day, our job is safety. That is what we do. Safety is what we do. And if you can't comprehend that and you think this is all about service and customer service, you're not going to make it in this industry. Just being honest. One thing that I learned that was confusing to me is what was confusing to me, especially in the beginning, was understanding how we get paid. It's not, this job is not a 9 to 5. It's not a 7 to 4. It's not a 10 to 6. It's all day. Once you check in for a trip, until you check out, however long that trip is, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, you're on the clock. You're working. But the pay is broken down. Just understand how it's broken down with whatever company you decide to go to, because it's broken down different for each company. The company that I work for, I work for a regional company, and we fly 4 major carriers. And if you watch my videos, you see those carriers in my videos. I won't say the names of the carriers, but it's pretty obvious when I'm working. So we have to know what each carrier expects of us when we put on a uniform, which we have 4 different uniforms. So we have to know the difference in what they want for all 4. And they'll teach you that in training. And we also have like manuals and stuff that we can refer back to once we're out of training. So I work for a regional company. We are the only regional company in the U.S. that gets paid for boarding pay. And what boarding pay is, when you are taking a flight and you come on the first you come on the plane, and the flight attendants are like, greeting you, giving you drinks, and helping, find your seat and things like that. That's considered boarding. So all of that we do in that time of you walking on the aircraft until the time we take off, every regional company except for my company, and then there's only one mainline company to my knowledge, I think one is about to start, that gets paid for that time. With that being said, before we started getting paid, which was like 2 years ago, we did not get paid for that. So that time when people are coming on asking for help with seats, bags, and connections and all that, we were not getting paid. And what I mean by not getting paid, we were doing work for free. Yes, literally doing work for free. So my company, like I said, we get paid for that now. We didn't used to. So that's a completely different way of getting paid. So that's one thing. Two, I'm not sure, probably all airlines, I believe, you get paid a per diem. And the per diem can be anywhere from $1 to like $3 or $4. And you're getting paid that when you're away from base. And that's a whole different form of how you're getting paid. Not the same as boarding pay. And then next, you're getting paid for flight time. Flight time is different from boarding pay and time away from base, per diem pay. So wherever you decide to go, make sure you have an understanding of how you're getting paid, because it's not just, because you don't clock in and clock out. You check in for, say you have a 3-day trip. On day 1, you have a certain time to be at the airport. They tell you what time that is. Once you get through security, you literally check in to tell them, hey, I am here to work for the next 3 or 4 days, or however long this trip is. And then that's it. You're checked in. So there is no clocking in for the day, clocking out for the day. And then once you get back and you're done with the trip, you just go home. Like, there's nobody you have to say, hey, I'm done. This is what time I'm leaving. No, like, you're just done. So, yeah. So, it's not like a regular job at all. Which means you're not working like a regular job. So it's not going to be like, oh, I worked 40 hours this week. No, none of that. It could be you worked 20 hours that week. Could be you worked 5 hours that week. You could not work at all that week. And then depending on the company that you work for, so the company I work for, we have guarantee pay. And if you're on reserve, you get paid regardless if you work or not, if that makes sense. So it's really, understand your pay is what I'm trying to say. It's really hard to explain. Like, I could be here all day trying to explain it, and something is not gonna make sense, trust me. So understand how you're getting paid and what you're getting paid when you decide to go with whatever company you decide to go, if you decide to be a flight attendant. What else? Back to something I said when I was talking about training, about everybody is not your friend. I'm the type of person, I come to work. If I meet somebody along the way that I think, is cool or whatever, that's fine. We're cool or whatever. But after the trip is over, that's it for me. I like to keep work separate from my personal life, for the simple fact, like I said, everybody is not your friend. So I keep it separate. There are a few people that I have met at my job, and I am closer with, and maybe we've hung out. There's only one person, actually. No, there's 2 people that I've hung out with outside of work. 3 people in 4 years. So, but I'm cool with a lot of people. I love my coworkers, and when we see each other in the airport, you know, we catch up, we do whatever, and then we go our separate ways. But some people are just better left at work. Like, yeah. I don't give people my social media because no one needs to know me outside of work unless I choose to let them know me outside of work, if that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure if you have a job, that makes sense. Like, you might be like, oh yeah, this person is cool at work, but I just don't see us hanging out outside of work, is basically what I'm saying. So, yeah. Everybody is not your friend. When you become a flight attendant, you have a company manual. Learn your company manual. I'm not saying you have to read it from front to back, but you probably should, because there's so many working parts to being a flight attendant, and so many people having to do something to make everything else work, that sometimes with hiring new people, or, you know, training new people, or policies, because policies change, it seems like every single week something changes. So knowing your manual and staying on top of your manual lets you get the best out of your job, because the moment something is not right, or a policy changes and something is not adding up, you definitely want to be on top of it and kind of know it beforehand, so it makes sense. So, yeah. Yeah, definitely know your company policy. At the end of the day, though, I absolutely love being a flight attendant. I know a lot of people go into it and it's like, oh, I want to be a flight attendant because I want to travel. That's great. I'm going to be completely transparent. When you first become a flight attendant, you're not going to be doing a lot of traveling leisurely. Like, you'll be traveling for work, but it's not as glamorous at all as some flight attendants make it seem. You're going to be working for one, and then on your off days, the last thing you're going to want to do is hop on the plane and go somewhere. Like, trust me, you think you're going to be like, oh, I got all the energy in the world. The last thing you're going to want to do after doing 20 flights in 3 days or 4 days or whatever, the last thing you're going to want to do is get off work, go home, pack a bag, come back to the airport, and sit on standby to take a flight somewhere just to say you've been there. No. It's not as glamorous as people make it seem. Yes, once you get a little bit more seniority, it's a lot easier to travel. But especially when you're on probation, because when you're on probation, it's just about any company, they're so strict. You have a limited amount of call-outs. You're being watched like a hawk. Like, literally only the strongest survive in this company. For my company, probation, a year. A lot of companies, I've heard they're 6 months. I've heard 3 months. A year. A year where you can only call out so many times. Only get so many customer reviews that aren't the best. Like, you're out the door. They're gonna get rid of you real fast, and they're not gonna blink twice about it, because this is not an industry where they have time to sit down with you every time there's a problem. They're just gonna get rid of the problem, and they're gonna keep moving. And that's going to be the end of it. Like, that's going to be the end all be all. My company, like I said, our probationary period is a year. So much can go wrong in a year. That cannot be your fault as well. Like, it's not like saying Oh, well, I got sick. Okay, fine, I used to call out. Okay, well, I got sick again. I used to call out. They're not gonna, they teach us and they give us tools to help us stay healthy. So they're going to rely on you to rely on those tools to keep yourself healthy and safe so that you can come to work. So they're not going to hold your hand and be like, oh, you've been sick 3 times this year. They're going to be like, okay, you called out 3 times, you're gone. Ain't no, well, I was sick. Okay, well, what are you doing wrong? Because we have flight attendants who haven't called out at all and haven't gotten sick at all, and they're using those tools to make sure they don't get sick. Not to say things don't happen, but they're not gonna sit down with you. They're not gonna want to hear it, especially if it becomes a pattern. They're not gonna want to hear it. I'm just gonna be honest with you. So many people have gotten sent home during their probationary period for call outs. And it be things that, like I said, not their fault, just natural things that happen in life. But in aviation, that's all I'm gonna say. It's different in aviation. It's different, I'm telling you. Yeah. What else have I learned? I have learned, though, that even though it's not as glamorous as it seems, it's amazing. I will say, coming into it, though, I'm glad I went regional and not mainline for a multitude of reasons. But I'm glad because I feel like when you become a flight attendant, everybody thinks that you want to go to the big dogs or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's completely fine. But I think if you are wanting to try it out and see if this is for you, I would suggest starting with the regional company. And you can just Google regional airlines and they'll pop up. I would just Google regional companies and see which company sticks out to you as far as your morals and your lifestyle, and the things that you're expecting out of work and, that sort of thing. Because they're all different. Everybody does not get paid the same. Everybody does not have the same type of manual. Everybody does not have the same type of training. Training is not always paid for. My training was with my company, it is, but training is not always paid for. Actually, some of the mainline companies don't even pay for training, which I thought was crazy. I'm like, if the regionals can pay for training, why are the mainline companies not? But again, look at what because they're transparent. They're pretty transparent. They'll have everything on there, like what the pay is, what the training pay is. How it works, how long you'll be gone, when you have to do certain things. They're going to let you know everything up front. Like, they're not going to sugarcoat it, because this industry, like I said, is not for everybody. It's not. If you're somebody who is not used to being gone from home a lot, this job is not for you. If you're not somebody who doesn't mind being alone, this job is not going to be for you. If you're somebody who can't navigate without somebody always being there, or whatever the situation may be, this job is not going to be for you. In this industry, you have to be, I want to say, honestly, overly independent. Because you're going to be in a hotel room on your overnights by yourself. Your crew, it's not like every single trip your crew is going to be like, yeah, let's have dinner tonight. Let's have dinner. No, that's not going to be the case. You might get a crew that will do that, and that's amazing. But one, don't feel like you have to go out. And two, that's not always going to happen. They're going to be in their rooms. You're going to be in yours however long or whatever. And if you're not somebody who enjoys their own company, this is not going to be the job for you. I'm just gonna tell you right now, it's not. You have to be independent. You have to be able to do things on your own. You have to be able to just navigate life by yourself. And I do mean by yourself. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. You're gonna have to be a big girl. You're gonna have to be a big boy. You're gonna have to figure it out for yourself. Each company has what we call domiciles or bases that your company operates out of. So if you're not somebody who is willing to move away from your hometown, this job is not for you. Not to say you have to, but depending on where that hometown is, what's the nearest major airport, how many flights it takes you to get to your base, and how much time that is, and what that looks like for you as far as commuting, it's not going to work for you. It's not. Because when you're commuting, you're pretty much giving up one of your off days, to be honest. Especially if you are coming out of an airport that only has flights on certain days for certain destinations or whatever the case may be. I commuted my first year from Memphis, from my hometown. And when I first started, I would fly in the day before, which means I'm flying in on my off day to get to work for the following day, not being paid. So, but it worked out for me though. So, might not work out for everybody, but it worked out for me. And then once I got a line, I could fly in or set my schedule up to where I could fly in the day of, but that's still really risky, especially during like wintertime or whatever, if you're going somewhere cold, or even springtime when there's like a lot of thunderstorms and a lot of delays, because you can risk not getting to work, which is gonna have to cause you either to call out or having to use one of your occurrences, and the company is going to be like, okay, well, that's your responsibility for getting here because you're supposed to live at base. You don't have to, and they'll tell you that you don't have to, but one of the questions they ask you in the interview is, are you willing to relocate? And if you say no, you don't have a job. But if you say yes, in their minds, they're like, okay, cool, wherever you're based, you're moving to. They're not going to ask you if you did, but they're expecting you to because you told them you're willing to relocate. So again, that's how a lot of people that first year get caught up because they missed the flight or couldn't get on a flight because of standby or whatever the issue was, and then they can't make it to work. Now they're having to call out. That is your responsibility to get yourself to work, which is why they ask you, are you willing to relocate? Because when you say yes, they're expecting you to relocate. They're not going to hold your hand and tell you to, but in their minds, you're going to. So, be mindful of that. What else? So, when you first start off, you start off on reserve. Reserve means they give you get your schedule for the month. And say that first week of the month, you have a 5-day block. So, that's 5 days. Within those 5 days, each day you have a time that they can call you. So our reserve blocks are, well, they've changed it up a little bit because they've added some flights. So now, as of now, it's 3 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So if you're on reserve in that block, 3 a.m. to 3 p.m., they can call you at any time, and you have 2 hours to get to the airport. So if they call you and at 6 a.m. and they say, we gave you a trip that starts at 10 a.m., then 2 hours before 10 a.m., 8 a.m., you have that time to get to the airport. So if you are not staying at base and they call you and you have to take a flight in somewhere, and flights don't leave when you want them to, so if there's no flight for you to get out to get there in 2 hours. See where I'm going with this? It's not making sense. So I did move to base because I had no problem with relocating. So I did. I mean, I waited a year to see if that's really what I wanted to do, because like I said, commuting for me was not bad. So I could have definitely kept commuting, but it did end up making more sense in the long run for me to move to base, and I'm glad I did, because now I'm here. Then once your seniority gets a little bit higher, you get aligned. So you get that schedule for the whole month, and you know exactly where you're going for the whole month. They're not going to call you and tell you. You have to keep up with it. You have to know what days you work. You have to know when your report time is. You have to know what carrier you're flying, what uniform you're supposed to be wearing. You have to know all of that. So that's where that independence comes in, because there's not going to be like somebody you go to at the start of your shift and be like, oh, I'm here for the day. The last time I saw my supervisor, like my actual domicile supervisor, was February of last year, because we had a CQ in Vegas last year. That's the last time I saw my supervisor. So ain't nobody gonna be there to hold your hand and tell you where to go. You gotta figure out what gate you gotta go to. You gotta figure out what aircraft you're gonna be on. Like, you have to be super independent. Have to be. Like, there's no other way I can describe it. So if you can't navigate those basic things, this job is not for you. But all in all, I absolutely love what I do. I have seniority, so I'm able to make my schedule how I want my schedule. I'm able to get days off, and I'm able to take time off where I can get off a trip, have a day or two off, still have days off to go travel if I want to. I don't travel as much, only because, like I said, once I get off, you don't want to get on another plane, especially if you're going cross country. Like, you just don't want to get on another plane and sit there for hours and then come back home and go to work and get on the plane again. Like, it's not as glamorous as they make it seem. I wasn't disappointed by that, because I've learned how to manage sleep, work, and travel. So once you learn how to manage it all and it works for you and you're off probation, it makes more sense. Yeah, it just makes more sense in the long run. But yeah, I think that's all I got. I don't know if that made sense. So if you have any like specific questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I will try to answer those questions. Questions I will not answer. I will not say who I work for, because just about all aviation airlines have certain social media rules. So I won't say who I work for. However, if you watch my videos, you can definitely see who I work for, but I won't physically out loud say who I work for. I will not say the carriers that we fly, but again, if you watch my videos, you can clearly see them in the video. And I am in no way, shape, form, or fashion an advocate or a speaker or a representative for the company that I work for. These are just my own opinions, my personal experiences, what I've learned, what I like, what I don't like, and how I navigate being a flight attendant. So, yeah. If you guys have any other questions about like training or what else, luggage, reserve, any other questions that I can't answer, I will. Or if you just want me to make another video and explain a little bit more in details what I talked about today, I think I could do that without mentioning something I shouldn't. So yeah, I could do that for sure. But yeah, let me know. Leave it down in the comments below and we'll talk about it. Or I'll make another video. And happy 4-year anniversary to me of being a flight attendant for 4 years. I have been with the same company the entire time. No, I do not plan on going mainline. And no, I don't plan on leaving my company anytime soon because I love it here. So yeah, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, Fly high and stay safe, guys.